this last week.
Yeah.
A lot has happened in our world since. But we'll talk just about what we said we'll review it as the season goes on, and we will. So now, if we said this a week ago, I've been a little bit more cheerful about this whole situation. But obviously, Yeovil are now top of the league. I think Torquay and Yeovil both had the starts I thought they would, have been a bit slow and then start to pick up. However, Torquay's has stopped badly, and Yeovil's carried on. Talk us through Yeovil and how it's improving, what's improved, and just
Yeah, it was a tough start, as we spoke about just before the season. I mean, the first game, it was always going to be a really horrible game away from home on a plastic pitch. And it went exactly as kind of feared. Dominated the game, couldn't find the back of the net, struggled a little bit on the surface, and conceded the most horrendous goal.
Oh, is that when your keeper kicks it into the, or something like that? Yeah, no, I do remember that.
Completely miskicked it. The striker couldn't miss, and that was sort of late on. I want to say 10 minutes from the end.
Yeah,
they held on, and the celebrations. I mean, fair play to them. That was probably the biggest result, in their history. So it was a bit of a damp squib, I would say.
So did Torquay as well. We drew.
Yeah,
there was a great 20 minutes when we were 2-0 up at Dover, and it was like. We're going to like 6-0. This is going to
be.
It
really will be this easy.
We are going to win like every game this season. I don't see how not. Yeovil will have to just win the playoffs. So it was that moment, and then we drew 2-2 and got completely outplayed for the rest of the game. It was like, at least Yeovil. At least Yeovil. That's 1 point ahead. We're doing all right.
We went from we're going to absolutely walk this division to
and then we got battered by Worthing 3-0, and it was like,
I mean, it is. This division is kind of what I expected it to be. It's tough in a way that's different to the National League. Yes. Like, it's so much adjusting to the grounds you go to. I mean, at Hewish Park, Yeovil look unbelievable, look unbeatable. But when they go away from home, I mean, there was a real worry among the fan base that this away form, which last season we won 1 game away from home, and it carried on, losing to Hemel, and we lost to Havant and Waterlooville, who's, I think they're the only team that were the only team that they've beaten. I mean, that was just the most ridiculous game, the most shambolic defensive performance I've seen.
Was that the 4-3 or something?
Yeah.
No, I remember watching Cooper's interview after that. Yeah.
Was absolutely furious, and to be fair, after that he said that will never happen again, and it hasn't. But we were conceding a lot of goals. I think that was the problem. We spoke, didn't we, about how we just couldn't score last season. We certainly can score, but we do concede. I think we've only kept 2 clean sheets, so it's certainly not been easy. And the reason, I'm sat here in my Yeovil shirt, I'm very happy that we're top of the league, is because we only went top of the league at the end of the game last week when Bath conceded a late equaliser. It is so tight. And even the goal difference is going to make a real difference. So the fact that we can score goals is a real positive, but it has still been up and down. But we are improving, and I think that's what is positive about the Gull'S at the moment. But some of the places you have to go, I mean, it's such a cliche, but it is so difficult, and every away trip is just a minefield on how we're going to set up. And I think you have to do even more analysis than perhaps you did in the National League, because you have to adjust your style of play, because you just could not have one way of playing against these teams. It's just too difficult. And they all have quality, and they all step it up. And if either of us are going to go up from this division, it will be through sheer hard work and getting the results, because it is not an easy division, that is for sure.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. I mean, it's just it's been such a difficult start. We went for that stage as well when it was like a difficult start, and then we seemed to turn the corner. And all of a sudden, then the last 2 league games, as we played a cup game in between, we were top of the league for a minute, and then
we've been top as well this season.
We were top for a minute, and then we conceded 2 goals, straight away, and then we then again lost. And last week was we'll talk about it more in the first episode, which we haven't recorded yet. But it was very tough. So the mood is glum around Plainmoor, where it feels like Yeovil's the other way.
Yeah, there's another similarity though. It seems from when I am commentating on Yeovil and I see the Torquay goals fly in and always mention them on the comms because it is so important. I still think you're going to be right up there. You know, it's only 4 points between us. Is the last minute goals? I mean, we've scored a lot of last minute goals.
As because we're full time.
100%. It's 100% because we're full time. I really think back to the first time we did it against Truro at home. We were 1-0 down on 84 minutes and we won 2-1, and they just had no legs left. Absolutely no legs left.
And that's what's been the case.
You just wonder how much that is going to play a part going forward. I mean, playing Yeovil on Saturday, who had an unbelievable start.
Yeah, they've been some good sides, Yeovil.
Yeah. They played 120 minutes on Tuesday, and they were absolutely gone. I mean, completely dominated. Took our foot off the gas in the second half because you could just tell that the difference in quality and full-time training is just really going to come to pass. And I think if it's already showing 11 games in, when we get further in the season, I think that's going to be a real important part of our season.
I mean, I think it's lent Torquay into a false sense of security. A lot of people are going, no, we're picking up results. Yeah, but we're getting outplayed and we're not playing well. And it's only because we've, in the 92nd minute, we finally found a pass. It's unlocked a defence. I know teams sit back in that sometimes. And they've been playing some nice football. There's no anti-football teams I've really seen in this division. That's a big difference from National League. Where National League, oh God, it's horrible. It is horrible, some of the teams you have to play. So it's different in that. But I think from Torquay's point of view, if you said it's hard to tell when you're in a different division, but if you had to say, well, Yeovil won now, and Yeovil either first this time last year, and then at the end of the season, are you a better team now? Because right now, I think Torquay have got worse. I think I look at a lot of individuals, and I think they've got worse than they were in the National League.
Yes, I think we're a better team now.
It looks like you are,
There's cohesion. There's a plan. There's a plan A. There's a plan B. Scoring goals. I mean, the signing of Reece Murphy has just been unbelievable.
You've got a plan B. Oh, I'm saying yes.
What is that?
Yeah.
I have read some of your articles, and I know there's a whole thing on 3-5-2, right?
Yeah.
We went through that, and then we changed, and then
So I know that Yeovil last year were trying to utilise wing backs. It didn't work, didn't have the quality. We do kind of have the quality now, but we don't play it every week. And we've started over the past few games to go with a flat back four. We have played wing backs a couple of times, but it does depend on personnel that's been available and whether we go with a kind of front four that's been happening, or just a straight front two with Newblay and Murphy. And it's very.
Well, there's his name. I took about 10 minutes. Well done.
I was about to say actually on that point.
You did very well there.
We talked about strikers and depth at the start of the season. This is the big difference between Yeovil and Torquay. Yeovil seems to have brought depth and built a squad. Torquay haven't. So Yeovil will have 4 strikers, you'd say. Torquay still have 2.
Yeah.
How can you not? We're playing the same 2 strikers every week. We've got a lad in from Southampton for a month. Didn't bother playing him. He's gone. Western-super-Mare on loan for a month now. You can see what's going to happen in a few weeks, can't you?
Yep.
Yeah, it's coming in it.
100%.
Yeah.
And it's just like Cooper and Johnson. On paper, looks like maybe Cooper's had a bit of a bigger wage budget, but he just seems to have built a squad where Gary Johnson is just there's no options anyway. I know he's stuck with a few contracts that he brought the season before, but I look at Yeovil's squad and I think even though we might have had a bit more quality on paper, I thought at the start of the season in our first team, Yeovil have a squad, Torquay don't. There's some positions that are just such lack of ability or any kind of depth. We're paying big contracts to players who are like Dawson hasn't kicked a ball yet. I've got near it this season. He was amazing last year, but it's the same situation as him last season. Asa Hall, it's the same thing. Dean Moxley, he's still going, but he can.
Don't spoil part 1, Sam.
I know, but so this is the thing. I look at Yeovil squad and you think Nuble, and then you've got Hyde as a backup, and I'm like, Christ, imagine
Hyde's not really getting many minutes. He came on on Saturday. He has scored this season, but early on in the season, I mean, the fact that Jordan Maguire-Drew can't get a start is just baffling to me.
And look at our squad right now. That's the difference.
Yeah,
and that is the
mean,
difference. That's why Yeovil decided to be top.
Is Brad Ash not hitting the ground running? I know he's had...
Yes, he runs a lot, doesn't he? Yeah, he runs a lot. He gives it his all, but...
He scored a few goals. He scored a few crucial goals, but it's like there needs to be another option. Like if Ash isn't quite firing, bring another striker on, or if the other striker can bring Ash would be amazing off the bench. He's doing all right. He's doing all right. He had a disaster at the weekend, but he needs more service. It's
the way we play. A lot of the season, our only tactic has been hoof it to Jarvis, which pretty much every National League South side has already cottoned on. If you can fire Jarvis in the air, then you're going to get yourself a chance.
And he's brilliant on his feet as well. Jarvis is so good on his feet.
The 2 goals he scored away at Slough, Brad Ash, were fantastic goals. They were quality goals. So there's something about him there, but it's just the way we're set up at the moment. I don't think it's conducive to his style of play. We're very much a direct side. I mean, I've been saying for ages now, I think we're one of the best sides when we're playing it on the ground, moving the ball around, and especially at this level. That's the way I think you should be playing, at least this time of year. When you get into the winter and you're playing on these wobbly pitches, and that's a different matter. On paper, you look at Jarvis and you look at Ash in this level, they should be scoring plenty of goals. I mean, they've scored, 8 in all comps so far between them?
Both
11, isn't it?
Sitters at the weekend.
But Jarvis missed a sitter, Ash missed a sitter.
That's not a bad return, but...
I have
a bit of an issue with this hoofball tag that a lot of people seem to be using to describe our play. I think that's true in some cases, and I think when you're chasing a game, it's very easy to go long, isn't it? But I mean, if you look at how we played on Saturday, it was an odd game in that we actually played in the first half. We were terrible, but we actually played some decent football when we got the ball down. We got it down, but our only method of attack was to get the ball out wide to Stobbs. And then he can get good crosses in the box. He had a day where his delivery wasn't brilliant, but we try to play football and we try to get the ball down. But the issue, plan A, plan B, is the issue. There are some games where you've just got to say, actually, look, this isn't working. How are we going to break this team down? Or how are we going to get ourselves into this? And I think that's more of an issue.
I think it's the right ball. And the thing is, I actually don't mind long ball. It's the fact we're terrible at doing long ball. Like, I think it's such a lazy tag. We just play the hoof ball, Johnson's fish. But if we're actually good at long ball, it can be very effective.
I have this thing about style of play as well, and it happened early on in our season when we lost the first game and then we drew our second game at home, and everyone starts to panic because we're supposed to be running away with the division. And there was this thing that we pass it side to side, and we pass it side to side. We're very patient, and when it doesn't work and you're not quite firing, and we didn't score the goals that we are now scoring, fans get really frustrated, and there was just a little bit of unrest. And they're like, it's boring. I was like, when it works, that's not boring. When the ball goes into the back of the net, it's not boring. Just like long ball, if the ball goes into the back of the net, it's not boring. And that's the thing. You've got to utilize what you've got in your squad in the style you want to play. If you need to play hoofball, so be it. It doesn't mean you're in a team. If you want to play it passing side to side, fine. It just takes time to adjust, but it's got to be executed properly, hasn't it? And the key
taking the right ball, isn't it? It's picking the right ball. There's no such thing.
If we win, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly.
Have you, Sheridan? You've played a lot of your games at home, haven't you? At the start. How many away games on the 4G have you had so far? You had Hemel and
haven't. So
just those two so far.
So you lost both of them, you're saying, yeah?
But there are 2 things for the season.
Just checking.
There you go.
Have you noticed? I mean, obviously, you've been commentating on games away from Yeovil, obviously, with what you do for the BBC.
I did do those two.
Yeah. Do you notice a different style in play when you are playing on 4G compared to grass or at home in the games you've seen?
It's not even the style. It's the communication. It's the adjusting to the surface, and I do try and speak to the players afterwards, and they just go, they're all so different. It's really hard to And it can't be an excuse because we've got another few coming up. So, you know, what is it, 8 games of the season? You can't be losing those 8 games if you want to get promoted. But
we're having a good go.
The fact that we've won on 1 is a miracle in
itself. That was incredible. Yeah,
you've done better than us there. So we've lost. But then when we went to our first away game at Western that was on grass. You could just see that we were just so much more comfortable.
Yeah.
But there's got to be something that they can do. Like, I mean, there is a training pitch that's 3G, but it must be so different to the ones that you go to at Hemel or Havant. And Havant, I can't describe to you what I was witnessing. It was unbelievable the naivety in that side, despite the experience we've got. So, and it's not a coincidence. It's just not. It's not an excuse, but it's definitely not a coincidence. And it is such an Achilles heel that we're going to have to get our head round. We've got Worthing in a couple of weeks, so
it's got to play. I guess the question is, if you sat again, you're probably better positioned to answer this, but you maybe have asked us. I don't know. Is that whether you would if you ask the players, okay, because Gary always makes those, says those same things. It's not an excuse. We train on quite a lot of paint and college, so it's not an excuse. We're ready. The players know all of that sort of stuff. But mentally and in your brain, it must just be different. You must slide into tackles in a different way. You must react in a different way. So whether in your brain players think, "Oh, here we go, it's another artificial surface," or whether or not it doesn't enter their mind, it has to, doesn't it? Has to.
It's got to. It 100% has to. And like you say, I think it can be. Easier for the manager. And Mark Cooper's always said he doesn't like that they're all different. That's the biggest thing that he doesn't like about them. But it's got to play a part. I mean, we have conceded a lot of goals, so we're not the most. I mean, since Michael Smith's come in, we've been much, much, much better defensively. He has been a transformational signing, an unbelievable signing. But we are still vulnerable. I mean, we still conceded on Saturday. And we even conceded against Didcot at 7-0 up. So, we are vulnerable at the back sometimes, but the way we defended at Havant was unlike I'd ever seen. And those errors, I mean, the only real calamity error I have seen is at Hemel on that plastic pitch. So, yeah.
And that was fair to say for us at Hemel when we went 2-1 up with 6 minutes to go. It's like, right, just see this game out. And within 3 minutes with 3-2.
104 seconds, we can manage to concede twice.
Well, with Havant, we'd equalised in the 94th minute and we still lost the game. Yeah. Like, it's madness.
Mm-hmm.
Like, teams like ours with the experience that they've got shouldn't be competing in that.
Yeah. And I think it's fair to say on our front as well, if we hadn't had Mark Halstead, our goalkeeper, he has been without a question player of the season. And probably will be player of the season at the end of the season, just based
That's
on.
Not a great look, is it?
It's not a great look. And if you look at our Torquay Talk, average ratings for the season, I think he's the only one that's above a 7. Last time I checked, I could be wrong on that. But,
yeah, I think that's right.
We would probably be in the bottom.
Goalkeeper, so.
We would be we'd be in the bottom third of the table, I reckon, without Mark Halstead. That's how I think he's been.
Really?
Yeah.
November's key, though, isn't it? We're coming into a real crucial phase now. We got the cup on Saturday. If we can get into the first round of the cup, and then obviously we saw last year with the derby. Yeah, we saw that with the derby games last season. Quite what it can do for you financially. But then obviously, is it 8 league games now? We got, I think, in November because we've got 4 midweeks.
Yeah,
7 maybe.
Because
that's a lot of points.
With the Eastbourne game now being moved, it's Saturday, Tuesday, the whole of November.
Yeah. And all I would say is that yes, we've probably not scored as many points as you might have thought, but we've actually not played many sides in the bottom half. When you look at it, we've played a lot of the sides in the top kind of 10, 12 places. So we've got a lot of games. I mean, we said the weekend, didn't we, Tommy? The next 3 games, there's no excuses in the league for us.
I think the table starts to not lie as much now. Especially get to about 14, 15 games, it will start to not lie as much.
Yeah. But it's a key phase, isn't it? It's a key phase where you can get a lot of points or you can get not a lot of points.
Cheers.
I've just seen on Twitter, Sheridan, that your New Year's Eve game against Taunton away is segregated now as well.
Oh, well, imagine my shock.
Shock, horror.
Let's get going, Tom.
It's been weird for us, hasn't it? Because I wouldn't say the majority of our games, a lot of our away games have been unsegregated. And yeah, for some reason we have a habit of sticking to one end. I don't know particularly why we do that, but I think we're coming in. It's just is it sort of a weird atmosphere for you, the games that have been unsegregated, that if you've seen any?
None have been.
None of you, none at all?
No, every single one has been, because I suppose we've had all where we took nearly 1,000. It's just too many to think about that. Haven't
get me that many to Torquay ever. How did that happen?
800 packed into Weston on that 27-degree heat. It was just
we got that in a couple of weeks.
Yes, love it. I'm afraid I'll be back in Weston that evening. But yeah, we've had no games that are not segregated, so
okay.
Yeah, it's not that different to last season, really.
Interesting.
So what's Newblay brought to the team then? Come on, we better do it. Come on, what's the view on him?
He's been brilliant. He has been absolutely brilliant.
He's a good player. Yeah, he's very good.
It's amazing what money can buy you, isn't it?
It's amazing what some good players does, isn't it?
I'm impressed with how unselfish he is.
He's class.
Like the 2 layoffs on Saturday.
Yeah, I saw that.
Just superb. The vision.
Yeah.
He's really come into his own in the last sort of month or so. He went sort of up and down where he was in and out of the team, and he scored against Weston at the end of last month, and that really set him off, where he scored like 3 and 4. So he seems quite streaky in terms of scoring goals, but he brings so much more than that, and I think him and Murphy are really creating a good partnership. And he's a leader as well, which is so important.
You need that on the pitch.
Yeah.
You need.
I
used to see my rant. You used to see my rant a few weeks ago about a lack of leaders and how I think there's a big problem with younger players and younger generation in all societies. And they went on.
I thought I got confused and enjoyed the question time. WhatsApp group that you did.
It basically turned into a sociology thing, and that now actually, I don't think I did at the time, but I actually now have a career in young people careers, so I don't know if I've been since, but I've just started that job now, so
take you on the path.
It's all come into one now. So basically on this massive like generation rant, and basically concluded that the reason that Torquay are bad is because a lot of these lads aren't used to the responsibility yet, but players like Newblay are, and that's why probably Torquay were better when Newblay was a Torquay player,
and he's had a full pre-season.
There's something about as well. I think we spoke about it last time about what position is best for him. Is he better more wide? Is he better as a central striker? I'm still not quite sure, to be honest. But when he just
playing a bit deeper was the best for me.
Yeah, nice, he played off a bit for us. Yeah,
played off. Yeah, and Jarvis did all the running.
Yeah, and I think that is probably what works. I mean, the two strikers being sort of, I don't want to say older, they're like my age, but Murphy and Newblay, they're certainly sort of at the latter end of their careers. But they do seem to work well when you have wingers either side. So if you have good quick wingers, then I think they can be more central. And I think when actually he had his little dip in form was when he was drifting a bit further out wide. So he's certainly been a good signing for sure.
He's just a good bloke, isn't he, as well? He's just a good bloke. He's good to have around the place, and
really lovely guy.
Because that kind of answers a couple of questions that the Yellow Army have put towards us, actually. If we can go into that. Alan Wills, who's one of the nicest guys you could ever meet, lovely Torquay fan, always positive, always finds a positive out of everything. Even now. He asks, so is Frank Newblay showing his age yet? He was clearly struggling in a few games for us last season, notably that Chesterfield away game where they beat us 5-1. He has doubts about him being consistently fit throughout the season. Just wanted your thoughts on that.
You know what? He's actually one of the strikers that plays 90 minutes. So he might not play every game, but Murphy is the one that's taken off. I mean, probably because of his injury problems over the past 2 seasons and he's just inevitable and scoring for fun, that we protect him a little bit more than we do Newblade.
And you've got the options off the bench. Must be really nice to have options, Gary Johnson, more than 2 strikers off the bench. Carry on, sorry.
Yeah, so I don't think I've seen any thing to be worried about Frank Newblade's fitness at all.
That's a shame.
You've seen him walking after games, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But like we were just saying, I think you play to your strengths, don't you? He's never going to be the one that's doing all the hard running.
No, absolutely.
And nor should, if he is doing that, you're probably in a poor side, and that is what happens when you are a side, as I very well know, down the bottom of a division. You end up burning your players out because they're having to do so much running because they're not actually able to do the job that they're brought in to do. So I think actually being in a team that's scoring as many as we are is suiting him perfectly. And there's very few games that he's substituted off, really. He tends to play 90 minutes, whereas Murphy doesn't.
Good.
We were lucky to get an hour out of Newblade, weren't we, when he was here for us?
He was just here like without. He hadn't played football in months. That's what Torquay fans say.
He'll have a pre-season behind him now, won't he, as well?
And I guess that's the risk that Mark Cooper's taken as well, is let's give him a pre-season, let's see what he's got.
Yeah, and absolutely. I mean, and also Murphy and Hyde, they're both players that have really struggled with injury. So he is managing their minutes so carefully, because we lose Murphy and that is a big blow. So things very much can change. And Murphy was on a hat trick on Saturday and got taken off after an hour. So that says everything you have to know.
And that's just good management. Yeah. That's just good management.
You've got to do it, but I think all 3 of those signings so far, Hyde probably needs to step it up a bit. He's not had too many chances, to be fair to him coming on.
I just can't believe Maguire Drew's not playing much. I think that's just I've only from an outsider.
Well, he signed a new contract recently as well. Have I made that? He did, didn't he?
Yeah. Not really getting a look in. It's kind of, he's a number 10, isn't he? And we're not really playing with a number 10 at the moment. We're playing with wingers. And he's been playing in the FA Cup, so I imagine Jordan Maguire-Drew will start on Saturday. But yeah, it's just not really suiting him at the moment. But
I would take a player that's half Maguire Drew. I'd take a Maguire or a Drew. I just someone a bit of that would be great.
I've been a fan since last season, haven't you, Sam, about Maguire Drew?
Yeah, and because he's regaled me a football manager a few times.
All it took was an open goal at Hewish Park, and Sam's loved him ever since.
Yeah, that's a standard for
Hewish Park last season.
No, on the Boxing Day, it's his touch, his everything. It's just like,
Oh, but I was so optimistic that day.
Yeah.
I got a couple more questions from a couple of Torquay fans. So, welcome to Kelly's Corner, as we call it, Sheridan. Rachel, she said, to be. That's it. Rachel says, would Yeovil supporters have Gary Johnson back?
Please.
No. That time has passed. It was fantastic.
Yes.
However, hearing you guys, we've been there.
Yeah.
Probably even harder for us, because I remember when we were losing in League One, having been relegated from the Championship. We would never get rid of him after we were relegated from the Championship.
That must have been awful.
Heady days. And again, similarities in the clubs. We've never really been a sacking club. We've always given managers time. And I think we probably gave Gary too long in League One. It was clearly had run its course. I think he'd lost the changing room.
Yeah.
Sorry, what are we talking about here?
No,
we pulled the trigger too late. Too late.
We're a year too late, to be honest.
You have to. I mean, you won the National League South with him, haven't you? So, and you got to the playoff final with him. Okay.
Yeah, so we should have been League Two. We should have been League Two.
Yeah.
It wasn't his fault.
Say he got you to League Two.
We've had a statue.
Yeah. And so us, he'd got us from non-league to the Championship. That's legendary status.
Yeah.
Still is.
I agree. I'll never disrespect Gary Johnson, what he's done to the club, but he should have just left 12 months ago.
Yeah, but that's
he should
what
have gone year,
so
2
hard
years.
to get rid.
It does,
yeah.
And I remember thinking that must have been the hardest decision, but in hindsight, we did it too late. And I don't think you can come back a third time, and I certainly wouldn't change our current manager.
No,
I referenced that in an article I wrote the other day. The arguments for and against Johnson staying in or staying out, and one of them was, if things have gone differently in that playoff final, then he would have been a proper goals legend. And I referenced that when Gary Johnson came in, when we were struggling in the South first time round, it was probably the most important signing in terms of managerial that we'd made ever.
I always respect Gary Johnson, but it's just gone on too long now, and it needs need new blood.
Yeah, and I read your article. I thought it was really, really, really well written and balanced. And there is a pattern. There is a pattern at Cheltenham, at Yeovil, at
Torquay.
I didn't even realize he drew with San Marino. Like, my goodness, that was a shock.
What I would say about all of this is that I say this, I'm probably a bit more of an optimist than maybe Sam is. It's not hard right now.
I was an optimist last season.
Yeah, but what I would say is I genuinely don't look at those players on the pitch. Like the pitch, let's get it right. We didn't play well on Saturday overall, but you don't look at the players and think they don't look like they want to play for me. They don't look like they want to be out. I genuinely don't. I wouldn't aim them not trying or them not giving everything for their manager at the moment. There's just something. I mean, structurally, which we'll talk about separately, structurally the team's not right, which I think is what's causing is the problem. But I just don't look at them and think they're not playing for him. But it just it just feels like I had the same feeling on Saturday that I had early in the summer, where I thought it just needs a new voice, it needs a new set of ideas, a different set of systems. And I was saying to my dad coming home, you do wonder if there's an out of work manager sat in the crowd. Chris Hargreaves does a lot of media work at our place, all that kind of stuff. I bet there'd be managers sat in the stand thinking, look at that gap. Why aren't they doing that? They should be doing this. They should be doing, and we could have a different view on it. And it just feels like that's what it's like. But win on Saturday and it'll all be fine.
Yeah. But we were saying
that's the difference, I think, for you guys and for, say, us last season. Our problem last season was clearly recruitment. Clearly, because Mark came in and he did make us better, but then the whole shambles happened and our recruitment was not good enough. Our recruitment is why we went down. So I actually don't blame Chris Hargreaves for that at all. Whereas it feels like you've got a good squad, but you just think it actually should be better than it.
Yeah, 100%. It's massively underperforming. But I think that will wrap up.
I've got one more. One more. Sorry, there's one more. Okay. Mel Beher says, which player in the Torquay United squad would you have in the Yeovil team?
Great question.
None is not an answer, Sheridan, just so we're clear.
And Alex Wells responds, which Yeovil player would Torquay fans have in their team?
Maguire Drew.
Drew.
I think we agree Maguire Drew.
Maguire Drew. Okay. Who would I have?
Hands off Halstead.
Yeah, see, I like Joe Day, so I don't need a goalkeeper.
I'm surprised. He's a Football League goalkeeper.
So again, we've had to change our goalkeeper this season. Jarvis, probably.
Yeah, it's going to be Jarvis. Jarvis with good.
Is he not fit, Kevin Dawson? Because I'd have him.
No, he's not fit.
No.
We don't know.
A fit Kevin Dawson.
Yeah, he's just about walking without a limp now, so we're getting closer. But No,
but I mean, Jarvis is just class act, isn't he? I mean, just
the seasonal service, and I think maybe he needs a fresh challenge. I'd go to say, but he's not. Something's not quite right this season.
Wait till he scores a hat trick.
I've got a question as well. Are you going to be at Playmore on the 7th of November?
I don't know yet, actually.
Oh, exciting!
I hope so.
I hope so too, because I'll know where to come and find you. I sit very close to press box, so I'll come and find you the views you do the game.
I hope I'm not.
I've been trying to do all the really local big games, and that's obviously a huge game. So I hope I'm on the list.
It could be so embarrassing.
Make a special request. Come on.
Yeah.
Been on Talkie Talk twice.
It's one of those nights that could be absolutely epic or absolutely dreadful, couldn't it?
Honestly, it's going to be really, Really.
I went for Maguire.
Can Yeovil will make 500 to play more this season, or?
Honestly.
I will clap though when Maguire Drew makes it 1-0 from outside the box.
Yeah.
I love how you love him. Like
Football Manager. I had him on Football Manager once, and that's it. Once that happens, that's it.
The free kick into the top corner against Southend on Saturday.
Maybe he's available on loan. Is he available on loan?
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, get him here. Gary Johnson will get some 70-yard passes from D Moxie for him. No, test him out.
Brilliant.
Right, thank you very much.
Bearing how that result goes, this might be the last time we have Sheridan on, depending
on if Yeovil keep winning, we can't have this, can we? Yeah, she won't come on and just listen to us wallow in misery anyway.
Tom only let us know after we'd lost, and we were like, oh.
Yeah. I was like, oh, you've done what? Really?
You've done what?
Yeah,
You've done it like last week or something. But yeah, no. Okay. But it's an amazing guest again.
4 points. That's all.
Bloody 14 next time you're on. So yeah, right. Anyway, so thank you for joining us. It's been great. An amazing guest as usual, and good luck with your commentating. It's good to see you've been out and around this season. So good.
Thank you so much for having me.
That's okay. Sure you've loved it.
See you next month, I guess.
Yeah, see you next month. Yeah. Goodbye.
Here's Hargreaves, chance for Torquay. Chris Hargreaves, the captain. If he stays on side, Carlisle checks instead. He's looking for Benyon.